The Jurex observation vessel emerged from fold space at the edge of Sol's heliosphere, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in ways that would have made Earth's finest engineers weep with envy. Commander Vexteri stood at the bridge's viewing portal, 3 pairs of compound eyes fixed on the pale blue dot that hung distant against the velvet black of space. Another primitive world, he chittered dismissively, mandibles clicking in what passed for a Jurex sigh. Atmospheric pollution indicates fossil fuel dependency. No quantum signatures, no fold space activity. He turned to his science officer. Classification. Class C developing world, Commander. They haven't even unified their planetary government. The science officer's antennae twitched as he scrolled through preliminary scans. Though there is an anomaly in their technological progression rate. Forward the standard report to the Dominion Council. Vexteri interrupted. We have 16 more systems to survey this cycle. In the back of the bridge, junior xenoanthropologist Catal hunched over her own terminal, 6-fingered hands dancing across the holographic interface. Something about the human electromagnetic emissions didn't fit the standard pattern of a Class C civilization. Their communication satellites were primitive, yes, but the encryption patterns they employed. Catal had never seen anything like them. She focused her scans on a facility in what the humans called Montana, where unusual energy signatures pulsed in patterns that eerily resembled quantum probability matrices. According to intercepted communications, the facility's lead researcher was a Dr. Amanda Roberts. Commander, Catal ventured, her voice soft but insistent. I believe this warrants closer inspection. The human's development path shows significant deviations from established models. Vexteri's head swiveled toward her, compound eyes gleaming with what might have been amusement or contempt. They launched their first orbital vehicle less than a century ago, using chemical propulsion. They still fight wars over mineral resources. What possible deviation could matter? Catal brought up a holographic display of Dr. Roberts' latest published paper. Their theoretical physics. This human scientist, she's proposing models of quantum manipulation that parallel our own early fold space research, but she's approaching it from a completely different mathematical framework. One that might actually be more elegant than. Enough. Vexteri's mandibles clacked sharply. Your fascination with primitive species is noted, junior xenoanthropologist. But the Dominion has cataloged over 12,000 developing worlds. We have protocols for a reason. Catal subsided, but she didn't close her terminal. Instead, she began quietly downloading everything she could find about Dr. Roberts and her work. The human's theories shouldn't have been possible without quantum computers to run the calculations, and yet, initiating final scan, the science officer announced. Cataloging biological samples, technological level, societal structures. He stopped abruptly. Commander, detecting a signal directed at our position. Vexteri chittered in surprise. Impossible. Our cloaking field is perfect. The signal repeated. It wasn't coming from any official human installation, but from Dr. Roberts' facility in Montana. The message was simple, broadcast in what the humans called Morse code. We see you. A coincidence, Vexteri declared, but his antennae quivered. They're probably testing some new detection system. It's blind luck. Catal wasn't so sure. She isolated the signal's frequency and ran it through a deeper analysis. The carrier wave had been modified in a way that suggested whoever sent it understood exactly how Jurex cloaking technology worked. But that was impossible, wasn't it? As the observation vessel prepared to return to fold space, Catal made a decision that would alter the course of galactic history. She encrypted her findings about Dr. Roberts and transmitted them directly to the Dominion Council, bypassing the standard chain of command. The humans wouldn't be dismissed so easily, not if she could help it. What she couldn't know, was that Dr. Amanda Roberts was already 3 steps ahead of her. and the Orcs were about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating primitive species. Major Jack Martinez stood at his office window in Peterson Space Force Base, staring at the Colorado sky with growing unease. The atmospheric distortions had been subtle at first, just slight bends in the light that most would attribute to heat waves. But he'd spent enough time tracking experimental aircraft to know this was something different. "Sir," his aide interrupted, tablet in hand. "Dr. Roberts is on a secure line." Martinez closed his blinds and activated his desk's quantum encryption suite, technology that, officially, wouldn't exist for another decade. "Amanda, please tell me you're seeing this too." "Better than seeing it," Dr. Roberts' voice crackled through the speaker. "We managed to get a partial energy signature from the distortion over Silicon Valley. Jack, it matches the theoretical patterns from my papers on dimensional folding. They're using some kind of space-time manipulation for cloaking." Martinez pulled up the latest satellite data. Similar distortions had appeared over major tech centers worldwide: Boston, Tokyo, Bangalore, Tel Aviv. "They're watching us. Question is, why so sloppy? With tech that advanced, they should be completely invisible. Unless they don't think we're capable of noticing," Amanda replied, excitement evident in her voice. "Their arrogance is giving us an opportunity. The quantum fluctuations from their cloaking field are interfering with our new qubit processors in ways that—" She paused, and Martinez could practically hear her paranoia kicking in. Even on a secure line, some things were better left unsaid. He understood. The classified quantum computing project she'd been running wasn't just about faster processing. It was about detecting exactly this kind of technological signature. "How quickly can you get to Colorado?" he asked. "Already on my way. But Jack, we need to keep this quiet. If we report it up the chain—" "Agreed. The moment this hits official channels, we lose our advantage." Martinez pulled up his personnel files. "I'm putting together a team. People I trust, with skills we'll need. Starting with Dr. Thompson at NASA." "Mike Thompson, the shielding expert?" "The same. If these visitors are using dimensional technology, we'll need his expertise on energy containment." Martinez began drafting secure messages. "I'm also bringing in Jessica Hayes, the CIA operative. I thought she retired." On paper, Martinez smiled grimly. "She's been running digital security for Silicon Valley firms. If anyone can help us hide what we're doing from both our visitors and our own government, it's her." An alert flashed on his screen. Another dimensional distortion, this one over DRPA headquarters. The aliens were methodically observing every major human technological center. And in doing so, they were giving Earth's brightest minds exactly the data they needed to understand their technology. "Amanda," Martinez said slowly, "how sure are you about your quantum manipulation theories?" "Theoretically, very. Practically, we'd need to observe their tech in action to confirm." She stopped. "Jack, you're not suggesting. If they're watching us, maybe we should give them something to watch. Something that looks like standard weapons testing, but actually would let us analyze their cloaking field when they try to interfere," Amanda finished. "That's brilliant. And dangerous." Martinez pulled up the specs for next week's scheduled missile tests. "Can you get your quantum sensors ready by then?" "Already on it. But Jack, if we're right about their tech level, we're dealing with a civilization that could probably wipe us out without breaking a sweat." "Probably," Martinez agreed. "But they haven't. Instead, they're studying us, which means they're either cautious or arrogant. Either way, that gives us time. And if there's one thing humans are good at, it's using every advantage we can get." As if to emphasize his point, another alert flashed. More dimensional distortions, more alien observers who thought themselves undetectable. They were about to learn that humanity's primitive technology, combined with the right kind of innovative thinking, could be far more dangerous than they'd imagined. "See you in Colorado," Amanda said, and the line went dead. Martinez turned back to his window, a slight smile playing on his lips. The game was on. The North Korean missile screamed into the stratosphere, its trajectory precisely what everyone expected. A show of force aimed at Japan. What no one expected, except for a select few watching from Peterson Space Force Base, was what happened next. Energy spike, Mike Thompson announced, his eyes fixed on quantum sensors that technically didn't exist. Massive dimensional distortion forming directly in the missile's path. Dr. Roberts leaned forward, her instruments recording everything. Just like we predicted. They can't resist showing off. The missile never reached its target. Instead, it simply disappeared. No explosion, no debris. One moment it was there, the next it vanished into what looked like a ripple in the sky. The world media would soon be ablaze with theories, but in the secured bunker beneath Peterson, humanity's secret defense team was celebrating. "Got it," Thompson exclaimed, his fingers flying across his console. Full spectrum analysis of their energy signature. The way they manipulated spacetime. "Amanda, your theories were spot on. They're using quantum fields to create localized dimensional pockets." Martinez studied the readings over Thompson's shoulder. "Can we replicate it?" "Not exactly," Amanda replied, already running simulations. "Their tech is too advanced." But she pulled up a different display, showing the modified satellite network Thompson had been quietly assembling. "We might not have to. Look at these resonance patterns." Thompson's eyes widened as he saw what she was suggesting. "Of course, we can't match their power level, but if we tune our satellites to create a counter-resonance—" "English, please," Hayes interrupted from her security station. "We can't copy her fancy disappearing trick," Amanda explained, "but we can disrupt it, like using noise-canceling headphones, but for quantum fields." Martinez was about to respond when alarms blared across every console. Hayes brought up the external feeds. Multiple bogies dropping out of cloak over New York City. They're not even trying to hide anymore. Above Manhattan, 3 crystalline ships materialized, each larger than an aircraft carrier. Their appearance was clearly meant to awe and intimidate. Smooth, geometric shapes that seemed to defy physics, glowing with internal light that pulsed like a heartbeat. "They're broadcasting," Hayes reported. "All frequencies, all languages." The message was simple. "Your weapons are useless. Your technology is primitive. Submit to Jirek's authority, or face isolation from Galactic society." Martinez keyed his secure line to the Joint Chiefs. "Request permission to activate Protocol Theta." The response came instantly. "Permission granted." "God help us all." "Mike." Martinez looked at Thompson. "Time to show them what primitive looks like." Thompson's fingers danced across his console, activating the modified satellite network. As the Jirek ships charged their weapons, likely planning another demonstration of superiority, 50 seemingly ordinary communications satellites shifted their orbits slightly. The aliens fired. A beam of pure energy lanced down toward Central Park, meant to vaporize a small section as a show of force. Instead, it scattered, deflected by an invisible shield of counter-resonating quantum fields. In the bunker, Amanda was practically bouncing. It worked. The counter-resonance is holding. "Energy expenditure," Martinez demanded. "Minimal. Their own weapon is doing most of the work. We're just redirecting the quantum effects they're using to focus it." On screens worldwide, humans watched as the mighty alien ships fired again and again, each shot dispersing harmlessly against humanity's invisible shield. In the Jirek's command ship, there must have been confusion, perhaps even panic. This was impossible. Primitives couldn't have this technology. "They're powering up their main drives," Hayes reported. "Looks like they're retreating to regroup." "Let them go," Martinez ordered. "They'll be back." But now they know we're not as helpless as they thought. As the alien ships vanished back into their dimensional pockets, Amanda was already analyzing the new data they'd gathered. Their drive signatures. "Jack, I think I know how we can track them even when they're cloaked." Martinez nodded grimly. "Good. Because this was just the beginning. They'll be back with more ships and bigger weapons. Let them come, Thompson said, his eyes still on the energy readings from their successful defense. Every time they attack, we learn more about their technology. And unlike them, we're not too proud to learn from our enemies. The next move would be the Xerexes, but for the first time, humanity was ready to meet them as equals, whether they realized it or not. Jessica Hayes stood before the United Nations Security Council, her presentation deliberately crafted to look hastily assembled. As you can see, our conventional military capabilities are severely outmatched. My recommendation is immediate compliance with Xerex demands, while we seek diplomatic solutions. The Chinese representative leaned forward. You suggest we simply surrender. I suggest we survive, Hayes replied, letting exhaustion seep into her voice. Our best weapons couldn't scratch their ships. Our most advanced stealth technology might as well be paper for all the good it does. We need time. What she didn't mention was the quantum encrypted tablet in her briefcase, containing the real story. As she left the UN building, she allowed herself a small smile. The Xerex observers would be watching, just as they monitored all high-level human military discussions. Her phone buzzed. A message from Martinez. Package delivered. Hook, line, and sinker, she typed back. Starting Phase 2. Over the next week, every major military power began a show of dismantling their advanced weapons. Missiles were publicly decommissioned. Fighter jets were mothballed. Satellite weapons platforms went dark. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, those same weapons were being rebuilt. Beautiful work, Dr. Roberts said, examining the modified cruise missile in the underwater facility nicknamed Atlantis. The facility had been built in secret decades ago, its existence known only to a handful of people. Now it served as humanity's hidden workshop. Thompson ran his hand along the missile's casing. Conventional propulsion on the outside, quantum drive on the inside. The moment it enters their defensive envelope, it'll switch systems. And they'll never see it coming, Hayes added, entering the lab. Just got confirmation. Xerex observers recorded our decommissioning of the Pacific Fleet's entire missile stockpile. Their latest report to their council describes Earth as commendably accepting their proper place in the galactic order. Martinez joined them, his face grim. We're getting reports of their ships appearing over other civilizations. Seems we're not the only ones they're strong-arming. Have they noticed our quantum transmissions? Roberts asked. Hayes shook her head. They're so convinced we're primitive, they're not even looking for advanced communications. Our messages to the other targeted species are getting through. The quantum comm unit chirped, displaying a message in an alien script that their computers quickly translated. Resistance cell established on Proxima, awaiting technical specifications. Send them the shield modulation data, Martins ordered. The more worlds that can defend themselves, the better our chances when. An alarm blared. Hayes rushed to her console. Multiple Xerex ships entering orbit. Much bigger fleet this time. Right on schedule, Martinez said. They're here to accept our surrender. Jessica. Hayes was already accessing the global defense network they'd hidden inside seemingly decommissioned satellites. Ready. Every military base is transmitting exactly what they expect to see. Fear, resignation, and submission. Dr. Roberts. Amanda checked her readings. Quantum shield grid is charged and waiting. They won't see it until they try to fire. Thompson. Modified weapons are in position. Conventional signatures only, until they're too close to stop them. Martinez took a deep breath. Send the surrender message. Hayes transmitted their carefully crafted capitulation, laden with exactly the kind of fear and desperation the Xerex would expect. Above, the alien fleet moved into position, ready to accept humanity's submission to their rightful masters. They never noticed the subtle movements in the ocean below, as humanity's real military power quietly took aim. Message from their flagship, Hayes reported. They're demanding we lower all remaining defensive systems for inspection. Comply, Martinez ordered. Let them think they've won. As the last visible human defenses powered down, Hayes allowed herself another small smile. The Xerex's absolute certainty in their superiority had led them to make the oldest mistake in military history. They believed their own propaganda. They thought they were accepting humanity's surrender. Instead, they were walking into humanity's trap. All units in position, Thompson reported quietly. Now we wait, Martinez said, watching the alien ships settle into orbit. Let them get nice and comfortable. The greatest deception in human history was about to pay off. The only question was, would the Xerex ever realize how completely they'd been played? The Cheyenne Mountain complex had always been impressive, but what Dr. Amanda Roberts now saw in its deepest levels defied description. The massive chamber, originally designed to house ICBMs, had been transformed into something that would make even the Xerex pause. We're calling it the Dragon's Forge, Thompson said, leading her past rows of hybrid weapons. Each one combined human nuclear technology with reversed-engineered Xerex quantum principles. The aliens thought our nuclear fusion experiments were primitive. They never considered what would happen if we quantum accelerated the reaction. How many? Roberts asked, running her hand along one of the devices. 50 so far. Each one has the power of a small sun, but contained in a quantum bottle of their own design. Thompson's grin was fierce. They gave us the containment technology when they showed off their ship's engines. Arrogant bastards never thought we'd understand it, let alone improve it. A holographic display dominated the center of the chamber, showing the positions of Xerex ships in orbit. They'd spent the last week inspecting Earth's surrender, their massive vessels hanging above major cities like divine judgment. Hayes burst into the chamber, tablet in hand. Network update. The resistance cells on Proxima and Ta City have successfully replicated our shield technology. 3 more systems are ready to rise up the moment we move. And the Xerex still don't suspect? Roberts asked. They're too busy celebrating their victory over primitive Earth. Hayes pulled up an intercepted transmission. Listen to this. The humans have shown remarkable wisdom in accepting their proper place. Their submission will serve as an example to other developing worlds. Martinez entered, his face grim. We just lost contact with our cell in the Sirius system. The Xerex found them. A heavy silence fell over the room. They all knew what that meant. The aliens would begin investigating other systems, looking for signs of resistance. Their window of opportunity was closing. How long until the quantum fusion devices are ready? Martinez asked. Thompson checked his displays. Another 12 hours for full charging. We only get one shot at this. Roberts moved to the quantum computing array she'd designed, its processors combining Earth silicon with principles learned from studying Xerex technology. The simulations are clear. Their shields can't handle this type of attack because they've never conceived of it. No one in their empire would think to combine primitive nuclear fusion with quantum acceleration, because they're too advanced for their own good, Hayes added. They've forgotten that sometimes the old ways still work. An alert flashed across the main display. One of the Xerex ships was powering up its main drive. They're starting to move, Martinez observed. Looks like they're preparing to leave Earth under their new management. Perfect timing, Thompson said. They'll be most vulnerable during fold space transition. Their shields have to reconfigure for the dimensional shift. Roberts pulled up the firing solutions her computers had been calculating. If we hit them at exactly the right moment, the quantum-accelerated fusion reaction will cascade through their entire fleet. The energy release will be devastating, Thompson finished, but contained within their own shield envelope. No damage to Earth. Hayes' tablet chimed again. Message from Proxima. Ready to rise. Awaiting your signal. Martinez looked at each of them in turn, the ex-CIA operative who had orchestrated the greatest deception in human history, the NASA engineer who had turned alien technology against itself, the physicist who had seen possibilities where even the Xerex couldn't. Humanity has never faced a moment like this, he said quietly. Everything we've built, everything we've hidden, everything we've prepared. It all comes down to perfect timing and the hope that our primitive solution works. It'll work, Robert said with quiet confidence, because we're not just fighting with technology. We're fighting with the one thing the Xerx have forgotten how to use. What's that? Hayes asked. Robert smiled, her eyes on the countdown timer as it approached 0. Imagination. Above them, the Xerx fleet began their departure procedures, never suspecting that humanity's apparent submission had been anything but the greatest tactical deception in galactic history. The revolution was about to begin. Commander Vex Terry stood on the bridge of the Xerx flagship, mandibles clicking in satisfaction as he prepared to address the fleet. Earth's submission had been exemplary, exactly what one would expect from primitives confronted with true power. Only one final demonstration remained. Target the island landmass designated Madagascar, he ordered. Our scans show minimal population, a perfect location to demonstrate the consequences of future disobedience. In the Cheyenne Mountain complex, Hayes systems intercepted the command transmission. They're targeting Madagascar. But our evacuation isn't complete. Send the signal, Martins ordered, his voice hard. Now. Robert's fingers flew across her quantum interface. Targeting solutions locked. Thompson. Quantum fusion devices at full charge. Starting countdown. Above Earth, the Xerx fleet's weapons charge, their crystalline hulls humming with power. At precisely that moment, 50 points in Earth's oceans breached the surface. The hybrid weapons, disguised as decommissioned submarines, took aim. What are these energy signatures? Vex Terry's science officer chittered in confusion. They appear to be. But that's impossible. The quantum-accelerated fusion reactions hit the Xerx fleet at the exact moment their weapons discharge. The aliens' own shield frequencies, analyzed and adapted by Thompson's team, offered no protection against weapons that shouldn't have existed. The results exceeded even Robert's calculations. The quantum cascade tore through the fleet like a ripple through reality itself. Ships didn't explode. They imploded, crushed by the same dimensional forces they used for propulsion. Their own technology, twisted and amplified by human ingenuity, became their undoing. Direct hits on 80% of their capital ships, Thompson reported, his voice clinical despite the devastation on the displays. Their shield harmonics are completely destabilized. Madagascar, Martins demanded. Safe, Hayes confirmed. Their weapons dissipated against our quantum shield grid. The evacuation wasn't necessary after all. On the Xerx flagship, now listing in orbit with failed dimensional drives, Vex Terry watched in horror as his mighty fleet died to impossible weapons wielded by impossible primitives. This cannot be, he chittered. Their technology level, their submission, it was all a deception, came a voice over all frequencies. Jessica Hayes, speaking in perfect Xerx language. Did you really think we wouldn't notice you studying us? That we wouldn't take advantage of your arrogance? Roberts took over the transmission. You showed us your technology, thinking we were too primitive to understand. But understanding isn't about being advanced. It's about being creative. Your own pride blinded you, Thompson added. You never questioned why our surrender seems so easy, why we let you inspect our facilities without resistance. Because, Martinez finished, you couldn't imagine primitives being capable of deceiving you. Across the galaxy, other worlds monitored the transmission. The mighty Xerx fleet, pride of the Dominion, had been decimated by a species they'd dismissed as barely worth notice. On the flagship's bridge, junior xenoanthropologist Kittle stepped forward. Commander, I did warn you about their unusual development patterns. Silence. Vex Terry's mandibles clacked in fury. This is impossible. No primitive species called. Could what? Hayes' voice cut through again. Could understand your technology. Could improve upon it. Could wait for the perfect moment to strike. Your greatest weakness wasn't your technology, Commander. It was your inability to imagine that primitives could be your equals. The remaining Jurex ships, those that could still maneuver, began emergency fold space procedures. They never made it. Thompson's weapons fired again, the quantum-accelerated fusion reactions catching them in mid-transition. The resulting dimensional cascade was visible from Earth's surface, a ripple of blue-white fire across the night sky. In Cheyenne Mountain, Martinez watched the sensor readings with grim satisfaction. "Send the signal to our allies. Tell them it's time." Hayes nodded, transmitting on their hidden quantum frequencies. Across dozens of worlds, stolen and adapted Jurex technology powered up. The revolution wouldn't just free Earth, it would shatter the Dominion's grip on the galaxy. "Incoming transmission," Thompson reported, "from the flagship. They're surrendering." Martinez looked at his team, the humans who had outthought, outplanned, and outfought the most advanced civilization in known space. "No terms," he said simply. "They wanted submission. They'll learn what that really means." News of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The quantum communication network Hayes had established, hidden beneath the Jurex's own transmissions, carried the story to every subjugated world. The primitive humans had not only survived, they had crushed the pride of the Dominion's fleet. Another system breaking free, Hayes reported from her station in Cheyenne Mountain. "The Centauri colonies just overthrew their Jurex overseers. They're requesting our hybrid weapon specs." "Send them," Martinez ordered, studying the galactic map that now dominated the command center. Dozens of points of light showed worlds in revolt, each using technology based on Earth's innovations. "What's the status of the Sirius rescue mission?" "Thompson's team is en route," Roberts replied, monitoring the quantum signatures of Earth's first interstellar expedition. The ships, built in secret beneath the Pacific, combined Jurex fold space technology with human ingenuity. They'll reach the detention facilities within 6 hours. On the main screen, footage played from across the galaxy. Crystalline Jurex ships falling to weapons they deemed impossible. Quantum shields protecting former slave worlds. The rigid hierarchy of the Dominion crumbling before the creative fury of primitive species who'd learned to combine technologies in ways the Jurex had never imagined. "Message from Kittal," Hayes announced. The former junior xenanthropologist had proven invaluable, helping coordinate resistance cells across Jurex space. "The Dominion Council is in chaos. 3 factions have emerged, one wanting to crush the rebellion at any cost, one seeking peace, and one," she smiled, "one suggesting that perhaps the Jurex need to radically rethink their attitude toward primitive species." "And the captured flagship?" Martinez asked. Roberts pulled up the sensor feeds from lunar orbit, where the mighty vessel hung powerless. "Our engineers have nearly finished analyzing their primary systems. The Jurex actually had the right ideas about quantum manipulation, but they'd grown so dependent on pure power that they never explored more efficient methods. They could have been so much more if they hadn't been blinded by their own superiority." "Incoming transmission." Thompson's voice crackled over quantum channels. "We've secured the Sirius detention center. You're going to want to see this, sir." The main screen lit up with footage from the facility. Not just human resistance members, but dozens of species, all imprisoned for daring to suggest that primitive approaches might have merit. The Jurex hadn't just conquered the galaxy, they'd systematically suppressed any innovation that didn't fit their rigid technological hierarchy. "Get them all to Earth," Martinez ordered. "If they want to continue their research without Jurex restrictions, they'll have a home here." "Already happening," Hayes replied. "The first transport is loaded. But, sir, there's something else. The prisoners, they've been working on theories of their own, combining their different technological approaches in ways even we haven't considered." Robert's eyes lit up. "Send me their data, if we can incorporate their innovations with our hybrid technology." "Priority alert," Thompson's voice cut through. "Multiple fold space signatures detected. Large fleet, approaching Earth." The command center burst into action, but Martinez held up his hand. "Wait, show me the quantum signatures." The data appeared on his screen, and he smiled. "Stand down. Those aren't Jurex ships. Those are our allies." The fleet that emerged from fold space was like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Ships of dozens of designs, built by dozens of species, each incorporating elements of Earth's hybrid technology. The combined fleet of the rebellion, coming to pay tribute to the world that had shown them freedom was possible. "They're requesting permission to land," Hayes reported. "Their leaders want to discuss the future of the galaxy." Martinez looked at his team. The humans who had started a revolution that would reshape civilization itself. "Tell them they're welcome, and inform the UN that they're about to host the first truly galactic council." "A council of equals," Roberts added softly. "No more primitive species, no more technological hierarchies, just different approaches working together." Above them, the fleet of liberation filled Earth's sky, a testament to what was possible when pride gave way to innovation, when superiority yielded to cooperation, when the primitive taught the advanced what true progress looked like. The revolution wasn't just successful. It was transformative. 1 year after Earth's victory, the Great Hall of Innovation stood where Manhattan had once housed the United Nations. Its crystalline spires, built with hybrid human Jurex technology, reflected the morning sun in patterns that symbolized the merger of different technological approaches. Inside, Dr. Amanda Roberts stood before a gathering unprecedented in galactic history. "The universe," she addressed the assembled representatives of over 200 species, "is not a ladder to be climbed. It's a web of possibilities, each strand strengthening the whole." Behind her, holographic displays showed the achievements of the past year. Planets once stripped bare by Jurex mining, now restored through combined technologies. Diseases deemed unsolvable by the Dominion, cured through the application of multiple scientific approaches. Deep space phenomena understood through the merger of a dozen different theoretical frameworks. The Jurex weren't wrong about everything, she continued, nodding to Kuddle, who now led the reformed Jurex Science Academy. Their quantum manipulation theories were brilliant. Their engineering was impressive. Their mistake was believing that advancement only moved in one direction. In the audience, Hayes sat beside beings from across the galaxy, former resistance fighters, reformed Jurex scientists, liberated researchers. Her quantum communication network had evolved into the backbone of a new galactic society, one built on sharing rather than suppression. "Look at what we've achieved together," Roberts gestured to Thompson's latest project displayed above them, a ship that combined technologies from 20 different species. The Stellar Concordat isn't just a political alliance. It's proof that diversity of thought, of approach, of perspective, makes us all stronger. Martinez, now Earth's representative to the Concordat Defense Council, watched with pride. The primitive humans who had shattered the Dominion's pride had chosen not to become conquerors themselves. Instead, they had become teachers, students, partners, showing the galaxy a better way. "We face challenges still," Roberts acknowledged. "The remnants of the Dominion's old guard persist in the outer systems. Resources grow scarce in some sectors. Unknown dangers lurk in unexplored space, but we face them together, each contributing our unique perspectives." She pulled up an image that made the audience murmur in appreciation. The first successful dimensional gateway, stable enough to connect distant galaxies. It worked not through raw power as the Jurex had attempted, but through an elegant combination of technologies no single species could have developed alone. "This is the legacy of Earth's revolution," she said softly. "Not the defeat of an empire, but the birth of something greater. We proved that no species is truly primitive, that no approach is without merit, that no perspective should be dismissed." In orbit, the combined fleet of the Stellar Concordat maintained its watch. Ships of every design, from crystalline Jurex cruisers to organic Proximant vessels to Earth's hybrid craft, working in harmony. Their crews, once separated by artificial hierarchies, now shared knowledge as equals. The Jurex asked humanity to submit, Roberts concluded. Instead, we submitted a different idea. That cooperation trumps conquest, that innovation flowers in freedom, that the future belongs not to those who claim superiority, but to those willing to learn from each other. The applause that followed came in many forms: human clapping, Jurex mandible clicking, the harmonic resonances of energy-based species, a symphony of diversity united in purpose. Later, in her private office, Roberts met with her original team. Hayes, Martinez, Thompson, the humans who had helped change the galaxy, and Cutall, the one Jurex who had seen humanity's potential from the start. To think, Cutall chittered softly, all of this began because I was curious about a primitive species' quantum theories. No, Martins corrected, smiling. It began because you were willing to question your people's assumptions, because you imagined a different possibility. And that's what we really taught the galaxy, Thompson added. Not just new technology, but new ways of thinking. Hayes raised her glass in a toast. To the future we imagined together. Outside, the sun set on a changed Earth, its skyline now a blend of human and alien architecture. Ships from across the galaxy arrived and departed freely, carrying ideas, innovations, and hope. The age of empire had ended. The age of imagination had begun.